Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Jazz Talk Show. Today, I'll talk about Brexit. This is a topic which saw the greatest of divide among people in the United Kingdom for years. On one side, there, in support of Brexit, there was a strong thought that British people should be governed by British laws alone, and British taxpayers' money should be spent on British people and not used anywhere else in the EU. On the other hand, there was a powerful argument that showed the huge advantage of being part of one large entity which operated as one single country. It gave a trade might. It gave a freedom of movement of producers. It gave a freedom of movement of people for employment. And also, it gave a freedom of movement of data. After years of negotiations, heated debates, and change of several prime ministerships, the deal was finally arrived at on the Christmas Eve of last year, that is 24th December 2020. What was the deal? Today, I'll take a few important heads and explain how the deal exactly affects each of them and what it means for the United Kingdom. Starting with education. Primary education and early learnings would not be affected by the Brexit deal immediately. All EU teachers who are in UK schools can continue to remain here for the next 5 years under a new scheme brought by the UK government called the EU Settlement Scheme. However, the biggest impact on education will be UK's withdrawal from one of the greatest EU student exchange program called Erasmus Scheme. Erasmus Scheme has been in existence since 1987. It had created work experience, it had created training, and it had funded a wide range of different projects. It had particularly helped those with learning difficulties and those from disadvantaged backgrounds. Withdrawal from this would actually be a huge loss for students in the UK for a long time. However, one very good news is that UK will continue to remain in one of the most prestigious research programs called Horizon Europe, which is also the world's biggest funded project. The Horizon program has been for years one of the pillars of achieving excellence in science, creating industrial leadership, and uplifting the society. The fund plans to spend 85 billion euros in the next 7 years. Regaining control over UK waters was one of the key parts of the campaign for Brexit. Why was fishing such an important part of Brexit? The reason is this. Britain has one of the most productive fishing grounds in the entire EU. There's a huge demand for EU fishermen to access British waters and very limited value for British fishermen to catch fish anywhere else in the EU. The numbers are something like this. In 2015, EU vessels caught 484 million pounds worth of fish in the UK waters, but UK vessels caught only 114 million pounds worth of fish in the entire EU waters. In the Brexit deal, UK had demanded that if EU fishermen catch fish in UK waters, 80% of that should be returned back to the UK. And this could happen over a period of 3 years. However, the final Brexit deal was this. EU fishermen who catch fish in British waters would now have to return only 25% of their catch to UK. And this would happen over a period of 5.5 years. The other thing that UK fishermen expected was that EU boats will be able to come only up to 12 miles off the British coast. But the final deal allows EU boats to come up to 6 miles to the British coast. The deal does give an advantage to fishermen compared to the share of catch that they had before, though not as much as what they had expected. The deal also gives an advantage that they can now export to the EU with zero tariffs and zero quotas. However, there's a major problem that the fishing industry is facing after Brexit. A huge cost and losses have got created because of leaving the single market. This is due to the additional paperwork, checks, and huge delays that these are causing. As a result of this, a lot of fish export is getting damaged and wasted. Within a lorry, each consignment of fish goes through checking and each requires a paperwork costing around 160 pounds. This is creating a huge delay. Smaller exporters are particularly suffering with the huge cost that has got built up and the huge wastage it is creating. According to Reuters, The fishing industry is right now going through a loss of £1 million a day. The government has called these initial teething problems, but the checks are going to stay forever. If smoother mechanisms are figured out over time, delays and losses might be reduced. But at the moment, the losses in the fishing industry are piling heavily. The farming community had also been one of the biggest supporters of Brexit. The reason for this is that farmers for a long time had been against the Common Agricultural Policy (CAP) that was imposed by EU on UK. The CAP has a yearly fund of £50 billion which it spends as subsidies for farmers. One problem was that Britain contributes much more towards this fund than what it gets back as subsidies. The other valid reason is this: the CAP rules are such that they pay subsidies to farmers in proportion to the land holdings that a farmer has. This ends up paying a lot of hefty subsidies to farmers who have a lot of inherited wealth and a lot of land, and also to dozens of MPs, while small farmers are paid very little. Farmers in UK wanted to break away from the shackles of these EU laws. If Britain implements a better subsidy program than CAP for its local farmers, then this can actually be quite advantageous for small farmers in the UK. The other good news is that because of the Brexit deal, farmers can continue to export to EU with zero tariffs and zero quotas, and this has been welcomed a lot by the farming community. However, outside the tariffs, there's a huge cost and barriers that have got created in the farm exports. This is due to the same paperwork, checks, and the loss of perishable goods that these delays are creating. One example of these checks are like this. When there was a single market, a lorry could contain a range of various products. This was called groupage. All of these products needed one paperwork. This transportation was very cost effective. Now, each type of product in the lorry needs a separate paperwork. Each product goes through a separate checking, creating a huge delay. This makes the groupage transportation practically impossible. But EU supermarkets need exports to be done in this way. This is required for their just-in-time filling of their shelves. If they do not get UK to transport it in this manner, they might have to source it from other parts of the EU. According to a research by the Road Haulage Association, in the month of January, two-thirds of the exports dropped. The British government has disputed this. However, according to the Farmers Weekly, the British government's own predictions are that in the next 6 months, about 142,000 tons of farm exports would get wasted. Talking of the financial sector, London is a financial capital of the world, and it is likely to stay that way. However, there's no doubting it that because of Brexit, there'd be quite a few restrictions in its relationship with EU. In investment banking, all member states within EU can operate between countries by something called as passporting rights. With Brexit, UK's passporting rights go away. However, UK investment companies can still continue to operate in EU by obtaining something called equivalence recognition. This would certify that the regulations implemented by that company while in UK are sufficiently similar to those that are in EU. In the retail banking systems for making deposits or lending services, equivalence system will not apply. To continue working with the EU clients, UK banks would now have to implement a whole range of legal rules which would be different for different countries in the EU. As a result of this, since October 2020, UK banks have closed a lot of accounts of EU residents. An important part of Brexit is the rules of data sharing with EU. Before Brexit, UK had access to all of EU's information on criminal data. 4 such systems were: number 1, Prüm decisions for information on DNA, fingerprints, and vehicle registration numbers. Number 2, PNR, passenger name records. Number 3, Schengen Information Systems or SIS2. And number 4, European Criminal Records Information System or ECRIS. Of this, SIS2 provides real-time automated alerts to police and border guards for wanted people. ECRIS gives access to all criminal records of EU residents. UK used both the systems extensively. After Brexit, UK will no longer have access to both the systems. Some alternative mechanisms of criminal data sharing have been put in place, but they require submitting requests and a wait time of up to 20 working days. On a positive note, UK will still have access to the PRUM and the PNR systems. Any future country which starts participating in these two will also give their access to UK. In medical research, the good news is that UK will continue to stay part of the Horizon Europe program. This is the most prestigious and highly funded research program for medical and scientific studies. However, leaving the European Union single market also means that scientists would no longer be able to come here freely from the EU. They would now have to apply for visa on a points-based system. But for doctors, nurses, and social care workers, a new fast-track visa route has been created by the UK government called the Health and Care Workers Visa. So the workforce for the healthcare workers can be expected to be quite seamless in the near future. As for medicines and medical devices, the standards between UK and EU will no longer be the same. This means that both could come under regulations and inspections by the other party. This could potentially slow down treatments of patients. On the other hand, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout in UK has been a great success compared to the rest of EU. This could perhaps show a positive side to UK having a free hand in carrying out a plan which is more fit for its local purposes. In conclusion, it is possible that the issues that we see today could get resolved in the coming few years through greater understanding of ground realities. It is also possible that there could be further negotiations in the coming years to smoothen things out in the best interests of both parties. It is also possible that Britain can take advantage of being now on its own and design certain plans which are more effective for its local people. Do let us know what you think of this episode with your comments. And if you liked it, please press the like button and please subscribe.